like something like a squat, you can easily think off the top of your head, like, oh, yeah, goblet squat, front squat, back squat. Plyometrics, there's just so many fucking different ones. And when you start to see so many different ones, trying to put them together in a program and progress an athlete can become messy if you don't have a nice little table or continuum.
Well, did you give them, is that already, they already have that template spreadsheet?
So I've sent them all these ones. So they have this, they have 6 sheets. That one, that one, that one.
That was the images.
All the images, and then at the start of this course, I don't know if you guys remember, I gave you my lower body plyometric continuum.
Yes.
That's a fucking great one to just edit on and fucking add some more drills or create your own. Like that one is, I've updated since the past couple of months, so you always should keep updating on it because it makes it a lot easier when progressing your plyos. But anyway, how's everyone's week? Good? Taz, how's your week?
Yeah, Saturday.
Huh? Was good?
Yeah.
Busy? Work? Max?
I've been busy.
Yeah? Busy? No?
Very busy.
Fuck, it's such a Melbourne thing. Like, I was listening to a podcast like probably a couple months ago, and it was like, it's like Melbournians get off of fucking saying that they're busy. Like, it's like you must be a sick cunt if you're busy. Like, which to be fair, I do the exact same fucking thing. Like, Andy, how are you? You don't want to say busy. I'm kidding. Don't worry, I said the exact same thing. Casey, how's work? Are you starting that program?
Starts next Saturday.
You excited?
Yeah, I'm a bit like nervous for the seminar because that's on next.
You believe in yourself?
So I won't be here next Saturday, but yeah, it's good at just finalising like all the slides, and we're gonna have a practice run Tuesday. Lucky you'll be there to.
You know what?
Give comments on.
Should we get Casey to do a practice run, maybe a summary of that for the class?
We've got the last, so this should only take 2 hours, so if we've got the last hour if you want to do it, take us through it.
Let's go.
If
I have to finish the slides, and we
You can do
need
it.
to change something. Yeah, I need to change something and having another like video call with Janae later.
Okay.
So that's alright, I got Tuesday and
Then you keep us updated how you go.
Yeah, sure.
Let's start next week, I want to know. I'm actually intrigued. Kenneth, how's your week? Did you hit a triathlon?
Hey.
Did you hit a triathlon?
Yeah, I just did a whole one.
Yeah, nice.
We're building. He's got, what have we got, 8-10 weeks or something? Is the mock one?
Yeah, 10 or 12.
Good. How you feeling for it?
Good, I'm a bit. I was on the bike this morning and my legs were just cooked. But
Yeah, but you're in St. Dallas' hands, man.
Yeah,
So you should fucking
mate,
work
anything
on that.
does. Yes, Dad. Yeah, good boy.
And guess it's Zaddy.
Yeah.
Charlotte, tell us about your experience last Saturday.
At the football club.
No, we don't care about that. I want to hear about the SP. I'm kidding.
I was horrible. I told you.
Fuck the football club.
I was not. Oh, it was a good club. Everyone's injured though.
Injured.
Oh, it was the busiest. Like, I was cleaning up blood. I was patching up boys. I was like running on the field to help boys get off the field.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, now next time you're running on that field, if you practice on plyometrics, you'll be able to run there quick.
Straight like a bounce.
I hope so. That's all I care about is like I'm hoping I get a consistent speed where people are like, yeah, like
This is exactly how we're going to tie it.
It's on my ACL.
This is boom. Minimal ground contact, high amounts of force. We got it.
I goes to the fallen guy.
Okay. Power and plyometrics. Today's a lot more enjoyable than like last week. A little bit more freedom with practicality about it because we're going to go downstairs, like I said, very soon. We're going to go over a bit of theory. And that's why I have a couple of little questions here just to kind of get us thinking, right? What is power? Let's just like get our brains flowing. Let's just answer some of these questions and get us thinking before we start applying it. What is power? Can anyone give me a definition, a formula, anything?
Producing force quickly.
Producing force quickly. Let's just say that, yeah. Now, what's a formula for that?
Oh, it's force times. Yeah.
Velocity. Acceleration.
No, it's not force times acceleration, it's force times velocity.
You know the difference?
Yeah.
What is the difference?
So your acceleration is you produce force horizontally and in horizontal vector, and in velocity you produce force vertically.
Can I stop you there? So you're talking about the skill of acceleration, not the parameter acceleration. So acceleration can be anywhere.
Like this is one of the differences.
So acceleration makes velocity. You're thinking about if someone's running. This could be fucking any object. If I throw a ball, that's not fucking going, you know. So acceleration is a change in momentum. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's a change. Acceleration is dictated by the change in momentum. Maximum velocity is a high speed attainable, or that you will attain. That's that speed. Does that make sense? Ooh, gone away.
That's great.
The velocity is the magnitude of the change. So what vector are you going in? This is a special word. Magnitude, the amount. Acceleration is the rate of change.
Change in momentum, rate of change. Important to understand those two.
All right, direction. Direction of change. Velocity implies a direction.
Magnitude of direction.
Yes. Where velocity, acceleration is just a change in velocity.
Keep going.
In velocity. I just tell we're right.
Just important to understand the difference between those two. But no, if you're right in terms of a skill, the skill of acceleration is usually more based on a horizontal vector with its force application, whereas max velocity is more based in a vertical vector. But in terms of just the attributes of like these two parameters, yeah, that's exactly what it stands for. Power. Anyone remember what are the 5 ways we can develop neuromuscular power? Like, let's go over what he said. Like, someone had to remember something.
Andy's got it. Go
Andy,
Andy.
give me Andy. Tell me.
Slow speed, strength,
Uh,
fast speed.
It's not speed.
Strength, speed, sorry.
No, slow.
Slow, strength, speed. Slow velocity. Slow velocity.
I know what you meant.
strength.
Yeah, good. Keep going.
Slow velocity strength.
Fast velocity, strength, rate of force development, stress shortening cycle, and intermuscular coordination.
Very good.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right.
Now.
Well done.
Fast velocity strength. RFD.
I think you should do a lot of written posts. I think where your strength is right now is you would be quite exceptional, well, not exceptional, but like quite good at doing like written posts versus like having to feel like you have to stand in front of a camera. Think about that.
Just quickly, Andy. Give me examples of these. Like, what do they mean? Like, what is slow velocity strength?
1 hour and
Yeah,
Andy. Okay.
lifting heavy weights,
Yeah, so max effort.
max
Like,
efforts.
max effort strength, yeah.
Fast velocity would be like Olympic lifts.
Or, what if I don't want to implement lift or drift?
You can use like a couple of jumps.
Yeah? Even just sub-max loads move quicker.
Yeah.
That's not, you decide, you figure it out, you're the coach, 100%. So, load jumps. Sub-max moves quick. What about RFD?
That would be lifting lighter weight or lighter weights faster.
Yes, I can load jump.
Lighter jumps, yeah.
Yes.
What's the word with RFD? There's one word that encapsulates it. Move with. There we go.
So the biggest thing I want you to think of, if I were to actually say you have to implement all 5 in a program, this is why I just said be smart with what you implemented here. Because there's a difference. Like you could, from fast velocity strength, you could do like a DE effort, like a dynamic effort, right? And move like, say like a trap bar quick and look at the velocity it's moving at, right? Whereas RFD could be something more like a loaded jump or an odd lift where the rate of force development is going to be probably a lot higher. So you've got to move down that curve even a little bit more slowly. Like you're going slow velocity strength, like max effort. Then you're going still like a decent loading, but you're doing a bit more dynamic effort, moving it quick. And then you're projecting yourself, that's when you're going to get the most RFD. Do you know what I mean? Now, of course, they intertwine. They're always going to intertwine. But it's just like, understand how you can separate the two. SSC.
Plyometrics.
Yeah, cool. And then, what is intermuscular coordination? Fancy word.
It's just practicing the skill.
Yeah, skill acquisition. So does anyone remember what I said to you when I said develop power with a novice? What's the two main aims? So you got force velocity here. What if I said let's change it up? You got a novice come in. What's the two main aims? So
Get stronger.
force, yeah. So novice. If we got a novice, we're going to focus on force and
Movement efficiency.
efficiency.
Movement efficiency.
Yeah, the skill. 100%. So remember, and it's all going to tie in today, that's what all of this is for, and this is what pretty much the whole fucking continuum is for. To practice a skill. Yeah? Does anyone know, so how many phases are there in the plyometric continuum?
5.
How many of those phases are actually true plyometrics?
1.
No.
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 4.
No.
3.
2.
All of them.
That can vary depending
Oh,
on,
yeah.
on your ground contact time, but yes, 2.
2.
Yes, continuous jumps and shock method. Alright? So you're saying to me 3 other fucking phases aren't actually true plyometrics, so what do you work on? The skill of and break it down. Yes? So you can tell me that when a novice first comes in, you're going to focus on their force capacity, building strength. Yeah, that's the most important. It's going to build the fundamental base, but you've got to focus on the skill. And by doing those two, naturally, early on, you'll create more power. Yeah? So don't forget intermuscular coordination, probably one of the most important things. If you can't fucking move well, you're limiting your way of expressing it. I like Charlie Francis' great one. I don't know if you guys ever read some of his books but he always said, like, if you move like shit when you're sprinting, you're limiting so much, like, at least like fucking 60% of what you can express. Just because you lack the ability to express it, you break the forces that you're trying to create. Like you look at some really strong guys and they run like shit because they'll fucking project in the ground and then they'll just put their leg in front and they'll break half their force. So it's like if you can't actually move well within a certain skill, you're always going to be limited. Yeah, it makes sense. So there's no, strength is the only answer or skill's the only answer. It's like, bro, anything we do, it's all about being holistic. Maximizing many things to allow to improve one thing. That's our whole fucking job. Straight up. Yeah, there's never one thing that improves one thing. It's multiple things work together to improve one thing. Does that make sense? Cool. That's power. What's a true plyometric? What is it?
Spending less contact time on the floor, on the ground,
Okay.
0.2 seconds.
Put it with a sentence. Explain it to me. So if I said to you, like, I'm your client, what the fuck's a true plyometric?
So the different, so it's a time, the amount of time you spend on the floor. So it should be less than 0.2 seconds.
Okay. Okay, we'll break it down from there. Okay. So, less than 0.2 seconds. Ground contact time. Ground. Yep. Now, what's the purpose of a plyometric?
Able to produce that force more efficiently, the power and force more efficiently. And in different vectors, different vectors.
So, a plyometric, right, is utilised to implement fundamental motor skills to teach us how to improve power and speed. So we're implementing fundamental motor skills, run, jump, change direction, hop, bound. So we're working on fundamental motor skills that improve power and speed by creating large amounts of force with minimal ground contact times, brackets less than 0.2 seconds.
That every single person was taking notes of what you said.
Do we repeat that again?
Yes.
Okay. So we use plyometrics. Well, the plyometrics involve us using fundamental motor skills to improve power and speed, where we apply large amounts of force with minimal ground contact times, in brackets less than 0.2 seconds. Charlotte, read it to me.
Working on fundamental motor skills that improve power and speed by creating large amounts of force with minimal ground contact time, less than 0.2 seconds.
Exactly. That's what a fucking true plyometric is. And that's why we get a license. So when you get confused on why we use them, that's the fucking answer. Alright? Now what, and we went over this last week, what's a fundamental motor skill? Give it to me. Show us. What is it?
Yeah, no.
Charlotte.
Fundamental motor skill, like
Just give me
jumping and
one.
landing.
Jumping, yep. Andy, give me another one.
Sorry.
What's that?
Sorry.
Throwing? Yep.
What is it?
Sorry.
Throwing. Casey, hit me. Give me one. Catch it, yeah. Hit me. Running, yeah. So, all these fundamental motor skills you can implement together and vary them in different vectors to improve power and speed. But the focus in the end of the day, when we have a true plyometric, there should be large amounts of force. If we had a force plate, we should identify that there's large amounts of force and the GCT, ground contact time. So if you ever read a lot of research, study, papers and shit, don't be surprised if you see GCT, they like to break it down. That's just ground contact time. Is minimal, okay? So, the athlete that can produce the most amount of force in the shortest period of time is going to be the most efficient athlete. And that's what we're trying to do, okay? Are plyometrics dangerous? What the fuck is with everyone saying plyometrics are dangerous? Why can't fucking Jeffrey, who's 12 years old, do a plyometric?
Fuck, he's called Jeffrey. And they're 12.
Shut the fuck
Their name changes when they get to 50, mate. Hey, it's like a Ron.
Ron. Why can't fucking Ron do a plyometric? Why can't Ron do a
Fucking ACL.
Who the fuck? like, Manor, okay? Parents coming up to you again. Are plyometrics dangerous?
No.
Why? Well, why are you going to let Ron do it?
Oh, this is awkward.
Yes! I think I'm going to take my kids somewhere else. Sorry,
No, it's good. Think about your answer.
Think.
You
No,
can have
good.
time to do that here. That's fine.
I'm thinking.
That's right.
First of all, because you're doing your plyometrics in a controlled environment, and that's what a human body generally do day in, day out. You're running, you're jumping. A kid is always doing some kind of plyometric every day. So why not be efficient in doing that and become efficient in doing that? So yeah. And in gym, you can do that in a controlled environment with a proper technique.
100%. So they're not fucking dangerous because we do them every day. And this is where it's like, and this is a different opinion to C-Dub. So Christian Woodwright, he says like he likes to focus on plyometrics once they reach a 2 times bodyweight strength squat and dead, right? Now, I'm the complete opposite because you got to focus on the skill. I'm not saying I'm going to throw you the hardest variation of plyometric, but if you reach a 2 times squat and dead and you don't even know how to fucking land, well fuck, what the hell, what have we been doing? Like, so my opinion is, like from the get-go, our athletes will be running, jumping, changing direction. So you may as well work on it because that's what they do on the field. It's not like we wait till they're 16 and they can go jump. So the biggest thing is break it down, focus on mechanics. Are plyometrics dangerous? No, because we don't throw them the hardest variation. We focus on the basic breakdown of the skill that allows them to build up the competency to get where we want them to be with a high force, minimal ground contact times. But we break it down to a point that they understand the basis of it, and then it's a long-term development thing where they slowly progress along the continuum. And that's where you can introduce the continuum.
I think that's the key. Is just acknowledge the grains of truth within a parent's fear or someone's fear. Is that, oh, there's a grain of truth that it can injure you. Of course it can. Because if you do a progression that's advanced enough with a high enough volume, you can fuck yourself up. So acknowledge the grain of truth, but then say, well, why would we do that? We're going to start with hopscotch first.
Exactly. So you're not going to throw someone a stupid variation, the most difficult advanced variation when they're 12. Right? We break down the skill. We focus on the pattern so they don't develop or form bad habits. as they get older because they're already completing the skill outside in their sport. Make sense? Before we even actually go into this, I should have had this question again. What is a plyometric continuum? Taze? What's a plyometric continuum?
Is that when you
No definition, you just try and tell me.
when you're confident in that skill you're learning and progress better?
So right idea, so you're saying, yeah, when you're confident, okay. Less about when you're confident, more when you're competent.
Yeah.
I don't care if someone thinks they're fucking great at astro, I need to see that they're great at astro. So, does anyone else want to try? Give it a go.
Yeah. It involves all the progressions of plyometrics in different vectors, in different movement categories, and different descriptors. You can progress through a plyometric. So it's a progression of plyometrics into all the bandwidths.
Yeah, it's pretty much, it's a method that allows us to break down the skill of true plyometrics so that we can work on each phase of the movement to ensure that when we bring it together, we're the most efficient and then we therefore can create the most amount of force in minimal ground contact times. Yeah, it's the way we break down that skill and focus on each parts and phases of the movement and slowly integrate it together so that when we do come to complete a true plyometric, we're capable of creating high force with minimal ground contact times in multiple vectors. Does that make sense? And that's just me making up a definition on the spot. No one fucking told me that, by the way. So you don't have to complete that word for word. You can describe it however the fuck you want. But that's the main point. The main point is that we're breaking down the skill, we're focusing on different phases of the movement, and then we're integrating it together so that we become competent at it, so once we do reach this point, we can be completely efficient at it. That sort of makes sense. And that's why there's different phases, stages, breaking down vectors. Does time of season matter when implementing plyometrics?
Yes.
Actually, did everyone get that? Or do we need to repeat that? All good? Does time of season matter?
Yes.
Why?
Because, for example, you want, obviously, through periodization, you want to do everything all year around, but in a block, but like especially during in season, you want your athlete to be more efficient, moving through all the vectors and producing that force quickly and efficiently. So when you do them, your intent is high, but like you're not getting residual fatigue. So during time and season, there's more importance of putting them through a training block than not putting them in some part and reducing the volume of them.
Okay.
So do you want to respond to that?
I'm a bit confused, man.
No, I'm going to challenge
You're on
you.
the right point, but man, like if you were saying that to the client,
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck I would have said back to
Hold
them.
on. I'm going to challenge you. Every answer you give for this class has to be under 30 seconds.
Okay.
You know why?
Why?
I'll take a blue. This is why. I don't know where I am. That's why. It's hard. We can follow you with our brains most of the time.
I know what you're trying to say.
I can give one more answer.
Because I know.
I give one more answer.
Wait.
You can practice, go ahead.
I know you that well. I know where you're going. But if it wasn't me, because you're kind of actually, no, you know what? Just do your thing.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Yeah. Good one.
One more time.
So read the question. Does time of season matter when implementing plyometrics? Go.
Yes, because when you implement them, you can train intent and you can train in different vectors without having too much residual fatigue.
That doesn't answer my question.
I like how it was short and very succinct though.
great in terms of what you're trying to say is correct, right? And you're talking about why plyometrics are great, but you're not telling me anything about why does it matter, like what's the time of season matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it down. What are the 3 periods of an athlete for their seasonal periodization? What are the 3 periods they have for a general field and court-based athlete? Off what?
Season.
Thank you. I know. That's just fucking okay. Off
Teacher in
season.
science class. What are the units?
Pre-season and in-season. Okay? I mean, you explained to me why plyometrics are awesome. Cool. Love that, but still it's not fucking answer. Does time of each set, like time season matter? Does anyone using these words want to give it a go? Or do we want to just break it down and go over it?
I'll have a crack. Off season would allow you to focus on more fatiguing plyometric. What's the word? Variances, like variations. That's the one. Like things like extensive plyometrics and stuff like that, and maybe more focusing on the skill. Whereas probably skipping pre-season here, but like in season, really just focusing on power development and just trying to maintain as much power as possible. Yeah.
No, like
That's a pretty general.
Everyone's answering correctly. It's not like you're answering anything wrong. The times of my season will dictate the magnitude, the intensity, and the volume, and the difficulty of the plyometric we implement. Because in the off season, we're going to focus on building our base via more
Where's the program for Rob?
Downstairs.
Where? I don't know. So come on, can you grab it for me and I'll do it?
Yeah.
So the time of season will dictate the magnitude / intensity.
Sorry, can you just repeat that one again?
Yeah, magnitude.
No, just like switch the coefficient can. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was going to repeat again.
Okay.
Yeah, so the time of season will dictate the magnitude / intensity, same thing, magnitude, the volume, and the difficulty of the plyometric. Because in the off season, we're going to focus on building our base via more extensive plyometrics and more max effort power movements. In the pre-season, we're going to increase the difficulty and become more intensive with our plyometrics. And start to implement parts of power repeatability. And then in season, we're going to pick plyometrics that expose low volume to minimize fatigue, but allow us to have the highest power and speed outputs for the athlete to shine in season.
Did you last bit?
Yep.
Is that it?
In season.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're going to pick plyometrics that expose a low volume to minimize fatigue, but force the athlete to demonstrate high power and speed outputs to shine in season. Does anyone know what I mean by shine in season? Performances. You can use whatever word. That's just me explaining in my brain. So again, like, by all means, if you don't like the way I explain it, change it. Okay? The point of why I'm saying this, right, is because in your off, pre, and in season, you are focusing on different things. Okay? You're focusing on different things. In off season, right, this is your time where you don't have any other loads onto you. Maxie, did you write that down?
Yes.
Can you please give all that to Manov?
Yes.
Okay. In the off season, you don't have any other fatigue, like stresses, right? As in terms of game, performing, training usually. So you can implement more extensive plyometrics because the biggest thing is like our strength level, like our strength, right? We can't just keep building intensity forever, can we? We're going to go back and build our base again. It's the exact same as plyometrics. So we're going to do things that are more extensive. What does extensive mean?
More
continuous, I guess. Like you're doing more reps of it.
Yeah, the volume's high, there's more of it. Yep, extensive, right? That are probably going to be a little bit lower in magnitude, meaning intensity. But allow us to build that base, that stiffness.
So extensive is more volume and less intensity.
Yes. Intensive is the opposite. Yeah. And then we're also going to focus on max effort power. So I focus on two different things in the off season. By max effort power, do I mean fucking continuous hurdle jumps?
No.
Why?
Because you're producing max power, so if you do too many reps, you'll fatigue and not able to produce.
Because that has the wrong focus, right? It's focusing on repeatability. Yeah, if you can hit the ground. No, not extensive necessarily. But it's just focusing on power repeatability. Meaning, can you hit the ground, produce a lot of force, create minimal ground contact time. Max effort power is, I might give you fucking 2 reps, but can it have the highest output possible per rep? So every rep needs to have the highest output possible. Again, that's building your base. Because you can't do something multiple times if you don't have a large amount to begin with. That makes sense? So off season is my time to build that. Pre-season, I start to challenge that, right? Extensive become more intensive. The difficulty will increase. And also I'm going to start to challenge the max effort in more of a repeatability setting. Because we understand what that means. To say from 2 reps focusing on the highest output possible, to saying can you create high output across multiple reps done together. Does that make sense? Any confusion? No? And then in season, you have the play around, but you're going to pick something with low volume that's going to allow you to have the highest outputs possible, whether it be power, speed, minimal ground contact times, to ensure you perform. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. Now we can dive deeper into it. But when does this not matter? Because you can say the complete opposite. I can give you an answer right now. Why does time season not matter for some people? Why?
Because anything that's going to make them improve.
I'm not gonna fucking build them up to a depth jump after fucking 6 months. Fuck no, they're gonna sit on pogos for 3 years, bro. Like, novice, don't worry about, like, with your novice athletes, don't worry about this shit. Like, yeah, you gotta manage loading, but I don't think you need to start sitting there and being like, yes, you wanna progress them along the continuum, but take your time, man. And I was explaining this to Andy and Manoj before. Everyone bring up this sheet here. This sheet. Let's bring this page up right now. I'm going to explain something to you. Make sure I'm on the right one. When you work with someone, right, they start here. So green phase, eccentric absorption. Watch this. Okay. After a couple months, we progress to concentric development. So this is a novice, right? Come to me. 14 years old. Concentric development. And we get to jump integration. And we're slowly building along. But then we're back in off season, and I'm just going to build that base, and I'm just going to go all the way back. Or I might take my time going longer. I might only move between eccentric absorption and concentric development for a long time, and just move between those two. Or then move between concentric and jump integration. I'm not saying you have to always move back and forth, but you're not always moving forward. Remember that.
Where'd you get these?
These. I sent them to you.
No, but where did you get them? Did you make them or?
No. So these ones are made from AA.
Yeah.
The sheet that I gave you guys at the start of the course I get was the one I made, but these ones are made from AA. These are the ones they use, right? So, the whole point is you got to remember is you're not always moving down the continuum, especially with novice athletes. I might move down very slowly, but then I might move back again. Now, I'm not saying you always have to move all the way back, but don't be afraid that with any athlete, you're probably going to move back. Like this example here, off pre and in. We might get to the point in season where some athletes are doing continuous jumps. Then we get back to the off season, I'm going to sit down and build that base with some concentric development. Max effort power, no momentum. Yeah? If that's their weakness, if that's what I want to work on. Okay? So remember, this can be answered either way. Any questions with that? Anyone disagree? Okay. Okay. What is a vector?
Direction of force applied.
Good. Yep. The direction of which force is applied or were projected. Yep, 100%. What are the 4 vectors?
Vertical, horizontal, lateral, rotational.
Cool. Can we mix vectors together?
Yes. Multi-vector movements.
When would we do that?
When someone's advanced someone's really advanced and can get the most benefit out of that. If you're not competent enough to do the simple movements, why progress the movements? Do the harder movements.
So someone who's becoming more advanced and more competent at creating power and power repeatability in certain vectors alone. And as they get closer in season, once they're confident at that, we can get a little bit more specific and understand that vectors have to work together. We move through different vectors. So we can start creating plyometrics that are multi-vectored, where we pair vectors together. Can anyone give me an example other than Manov or Max on this? What's a plyometrics where we pair two vectors together?
Like, does it have to be at the exact same time that you're doing both of them? Is that what it involves, or? Because I was going to say like I don't know, like
the exercise should involve two different vectors.
Right. I was just going to say like a depth jump into then like a lateral jump.
No, it works, yeah. You can't always be moving in the whole vectors at one point, and you're not necessarily moving in a vector, correct? Yes, that's correct. A depth jump, even to a vertical jump to a skater jump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So 100%. That's pairing what two vectors?
Vertical and lateral.
Yep, tick that off. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. What two phases? We have all the phases. Yes, everyone sees the phases, right? 5 phases. What two phases are we going to generally pair? You can pair them all of them, but which ones are we most likely to pair vectors together?
Eccentric and concentric.
Really? That's where you're going to be pairing most of the vectors together.
No, they're not vectors.
What?
They're not vectors, eccentric and concentric.
No, I'm saying, was my question not clear?
Jumps.
Pardon?
Like the jumps, the jump integration, the continuous jump. Those two.
So what phases?
Close.
Like they would be-
Continuous jumps 100%.
Yeah.
Because you're doing multiple jumps, you can pair that together.
Jump integration and continuous jump.
No.
Is that a question?
So, which two phases of the... Okay, that's right. I may have misinterpreted the question, okay? Misexplained the question. What two phases across the 5 in the continuum are we most likely, again, you can do it across the whole, most likely going to pair vectors together with our plyometrics?
Continuous and shock.
100%. Because there's multiple movements there. There's a lot of repeatability with it. So you're going to pair different vectors together. Is that saying you can't jump off a box and do an altitude landing and rotate? No, of course you can. But the most amount of movements are going to be in the last 2 phases because there's power repeatability. It's not one effort, it's multiple efforts with high force, minimal gain contact time. Does that make sense? Cool. Now, everyone understand vectors? Cool. Any questions? Anything you wanted to add?
Doing a very good job.
What is a movement category? Sounds weird. What is a movement?
It's like movements like drop, jump, hop, bound. So like different movement options.
Study, okay. Someone's done a bit of this study. Can you say that again?
Movements like drop, jump,
wait, drop. Let everyone write it down. Drop, yep.
Jump, bound,
down,
and hop.
Okay. Now you're going to explain every single one to
Yeah.
slowly
Alright.
and clearly. What is a drop?
A drop is it for example of a
Right.
drop is
What is a drop?
landing. So landing off a constraint like a box.
So drop's only a landing.
Landing, absorbing force.
What about a drop jump?
Moving eccentrically.
What about a drop jump? That's not just a landing and absorbing force.
Drop jump.
Yeah, that's not just landing and absorbing force. You hit the ground and you're gonna jump straight up. What is a drop as a movement category? Do you want me to explain? Does anyone else want to give it a go?
Is it just jump, landing from a higher point?
We're not necessarily landing. You're moving off from an altitude or a height. Does that make sense? That's all you're doing. And wait, by the way,
That's what I said.
there's no, because you said landing and stopping. What about a drop jump? You're not landing and stopping. You're jumping from an altitude, hitting the ground and coming straight off. So don't use the word landing, because then you're limiting it to one phase of the movement. Whereas you can implement a drop jump in the fucking shock method, and that's got nothing to do with eccentric absorption. Obviously you implement that in there, but that's not the focus. Does that make sense? So a drop, you're using drop as a exercise, and that's what you're trying to explain, the altitude landing. Use it as a movement category. When we explain a movement category, we're just talking about a description of what the athlete's going to do. Okay. Does that make sense? And then you pick the exercise. So a movement category and an exercise are two different things. Does that make sense?
Define it one more time. You define it one more time.
So I just defined it as, so a drop is where we move from a high altitude to complete a movement.
Okay. Does that include tall to short?
Not really, no. Because you're not dropping from a high altitude.
So what is that then? If you just
altitude landing, a drop jump, depth jump.
What would I categorize like tall to shorting? What would I categorize tall to shorting?
I mean, you could categorize it, but I'll call it as a breakdown of let's say a jump. You're breaking down the skill of a jump.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because you focus on this. Like, you can call it a drop if you want, but you're not dropping. And with that, and when I say you're moving from a high altitude, if we're in an upper body plyometric continuum, you're not moving. We're moving maybe in an object. Does that make sense? From a high altitude. So say a chest pass, but someone's a bit higher off and they drop it onto you, and you catch it. So it can either be an object or yourself moving from a high altitude. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're talking about dropping. Like a total shot, yeah, you're right. Like, yeah, you're necking here and you're moving down, but you're actually dropping. My opinion, and this is the way I teach it, no.
Yeah, I always understand.
I'd say you're breaking down the skill of a jump.
Put that in a drop.
Because think about a jump. What is a jump?
Producing force and then landing.
What's the skill of a jump? What does a jump mean?
Projecting off the ground.
More specific.
Oh no.
Jump, you can fucking jump horizontally. Does anyone, okay, you know what, I'm going to ask this question. No, that's right. I'm going to ask this question. Okay, this is by itself.
What is water?
Wait, a drop is by itself. We all know what a drop is. What's the difference between a jump, a bound, and a hop? That's how I'm going to ask it.
Jump? Yes, I know. Now I know.
30 seconds.
Wait. I'm going to ask, what's the difference between a jump, a bound, and a hop? Okay? Explain it to me by each one.
So the differences, or explain all three of them.
Tell me.
Okay, so the differences is in jump you use 2 legs. In a
Stop there. You used to. Okay? Explain it to me. Don't just tell me I use 2 legs, 1 leg, because that's not going to help me understand it. I want to visually see what.
In a jump, you produce force of 2 legs and land on 2 legs. What's that?
Yeah.
Bound. You produce force of, for example, right leg and land on opposite leg, left leg.
Very good. Okay. So you alternate which leg you project.
Alternate legs, yes.
So you project and you land on the opposite leg.
Exactly. Hop, you produce force of your 1 leg and land on the same leg.
Yeah.
What would it be if you produced force off 1 leg and land on both legs?
If you did that, I'd categorize it still probably as a jump. Just because you're landing on it. But again, like, the biggest thing is to understand the basis of it, the basics. So jump, you're projecting off 2 legs and then you're landing on 2 legs. A bound, you're projecting off 1 leg and then landing on the other leg. A hop, you're projecting off 1 leg and landing on the same leg. Yeah? You can use the word producing force and shit, but try not to confuse people. You're just projecting. Just talk about the movement that they're doing. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm like talking about you're producing force.
So what word should I use instead?
Just project, like just move. Like you're moving from 1 leg to another.
Yeah, that's what I exactly mean, yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, we can talk about force and all this shit, but when I have a fucking, like, 14-year-old kid, they don't give a fuck. They just want to know which leg they're moving from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're on the right point. Like, yeah, you do produce force with that. But
Now
sometimes
I'm using those words to just to use
I know,
it here.
but tell me like I'm a little kid. Like, I'm not gonna say.
Little daddy.
Fuck you up.
Alright. Now, if I'm doing a continuous double leg broad jump, is that still a jump?
Wait, what?
If I'm doing a double leg continuous broad jump, do we all know what that is? Broad jump, broad jump, broad jump. Is that still a jump? Because I'm projecting off one leg, landing on the two legs. I'm projecting off two legs, sorry, landing on two legs.
Yes.
Is that still a jump?
Yes.
Yes. Because even though the landing time is minimal, it's still projected from two legs to two legs again, till we hit the ground contact, till we hit the contact time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So even if it's a continuous, these words are crucial. Because I tell you now, and I put my hand up, I fucked this up when I was younger. And I used to write things in. Like I used to do like a lateral jump and it'd be a single leg. Be smart, categorize it, use the fucking words that are correct to it. Because I straight up fucked it up.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah? So it's important that you understand this because you're going to rate someone else's program. You say you're working for someone else, say you go to high performance sport, doesn't matter where you go, they might program this and if you fuck that up, you're going to cop it. Yeah? They're not going to be happy. So make sure you understand that. Or if you ever run something, to be very clear. Because something like this, down, so this is a great example. You want to run, or you want to, say, work at a place like Woodford where you have a membership basis, a program where athletes can come in as many times as they want. They have their program, but there's coaches there. They need to have a bit of autonomy, right? They need to understand, they should be able to look at their program and be able to understand it. The coach should be moving around, coaching everyone, with quick, small cues. So they can't sit there and explain everything all the time. If they don't understand this and you're not clear with this, they will fuck it up. From experience. I've had athletes fuck it up because I wasn't clear on what I meant by a jump, a down, and a pop. Be clear with it from the get-go. Make sense? What is a descriptor?
So it means what kind of movement you are actually doing. So for example, a jump, it could be a counter movement jump, a static jump, a continuous jump,
Wait. Alright.
a depth jump.
So what do we got?
Oh, should I give an example? Same thing.
Now
So
give me a list.
static jump. So like
So static.
non-counter movement jump.
No, that's right. So static. Non-counter movement.
Yep.
Yeah, what else?
Counter movement jump.
Counter movement.
You stick. Landing also comes in it. So when you drop, you stick the landing. So it's stick. Then you stick the landing.
So you got static, non-counter movement, counter movement, depth.
Yep. Continuous.
Stick. Continuous.
Depth jump.
I already wrote that down, bro.
Okay.
And you got double contact.
Yeah, you can do that.
Shit, thanks, bro. I wasn't sure if I could.
Wait,
Okay.
what's that fourth one say?
Okay, let me read it for you. So you got static, non-counter movement, counter movement, depth, stick, continuous, and double contact. Okay? Yeah, you can do that. Fuck yeah, of course.
What's the last one?
Double contact. Sorry, just quickly wrote that. Andy, what's it mean by static? So if you're telling someone do a static jump, it's a descriptor, okay? So you're describing the movement as a static jump. What the fuck does that mean? I'm Jeff. I'm Ron. Tell me, what is a static jump?
What's that thing from the movies? Like, my name is Jeff.
My name's Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
What is that from?
21 Jump Street.
Just bring back 2012.
What is static? And if you don't know, say it straight up. If you don't know, I don't care. I really couldn't care less. That's why we're here to learn. So if you feel like you don't understand, but give it a go if you want.
I don't really know how to.
That's fine. Actually, no, wait. Is there anything across here that you feel like you can explain? I know my hand money doesn't allow to help that, but is there any one of those that you want to explain?
I guess continues.
Yes.
You sort of just you like repeating the movement over and over.
Yep. Repeating efforts. Yep. 100%. Straight up. That's it. You don't have to be complicated with it. Give me an example.
Continuous order.
Done. Killed it. That's it. Cool. Tick that. That's done.
Can you give like a definition?
Huh?
Can you give like a definition?
Yep. Continuous repeated efforts.
Just keep going. Just the.
That's how I'd explain continuous repeated efforts. So you focus on power repeatability. Very important too.
With static, because static is taking away the stretch short cycle, correct?
Taken away.
Oh, like
Just because I'm.
isolate.
And you're right, in a broad sense, like you're taking it away, but just because like you can't actually take the
Yeah,
stretch
sorry,
short
like,
away, what are you
you're
doing?
not.
There's a certain word.
Eliminate.
Eliminating, like there's a word that if you read through a lot of like research books, what do they always say to do the negate it. Negate. Because you can't I'm not fucking taking his bicep away. Yeah? Like you're not you're just negating the stretch short cycle. Negate.
So what's the difference? So and what would the non-counter movement be? Because
Same
that to
thing.
me seems like the same thing.
Same.
Reading.
They are same thing.
Similar but different. So it's like a static jump could be like here, dip, hold, static, negate the stretch reflex. A non-counter movement just means where there's no dips. You might either start here, you might start on the box.
Very similar.
Very similar in a sense, but different. Make sense?
So non-continuous is starting.
Not non-continuous, non-counter movement.
Sorry, non-counter movement is when you start in that sort of.
Yeah, so you're not necessarily negating the stretch reflex. You're just creating power in the concentric
purely
phase.
concentric.
That's what a non-counter movement.
So like a dump,
Like a concentric jump off box.
Yeah, that's
it's
it.
not static because I didn't move into position and hold it. I'm not
just
necessarily holding a position. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm just there. There's no counter movement.
Yeah.
Whereas a static, there's a counter movement. I negate the stretch reflex and then I jump up. Does that make sense?
So from a practical standpoint, what I'll commonly do is I'll couple static and counter movement together. I'll go one set counter movement, one set static, so I can hit more of a force profile, more of a reactive stretch shorten cycle profile. So practically that's how you can start thinking about implementing it.
Good.
Especially if you don't have many sessions in a week.
So examples, dumbbell static jump. Yeah. Does anyone know what the time frame is? The most efficient time frame to negate the stretch reflexes?
2 to 3 seconds.
No.
5 seconds.
5 seconds. Most efficient.
Most efficient.
Yeah. Practically, you can implement 3, 2, no.
5 seconds.
5 seconds most efficient. Yeah. Non-counter movement from a full concentric position. There is what it says, no counter movement. Literally. Does that answer your question, Maxie?
Yeah, it does.
Now, so we got counter movement, depth, stick, and double contact. Charlotte, which one are you going to explain to me?
Which one did you say?
So we got counter movement, depth, stick, or double contact.
Depth jump. I got it up at the each year because I was kind of just looking through all of them and what exercises they'd be. So like dropping from a box and then landing and then jumping vertically.
So you don't need an exercise,
Oh,
but I want a description.
okay.
So, again, the biggest thing you'll learn about S&C is exercise is the last thing you ever fucking worry about. If you nail this, you'll know which exercise to implement. I promise you that. Or with strength work. If you know, like I'm hitting a big 6 main lower body push, or, you know what I mean, and it's a bilateral movement, and it's going to be early on in my session, so it's going to be more of a max strength movement, bang, I'm going to pick something that's going to allow for that. Understand what you're trying to hit, exercise is the last thing. I'm sorry I stopped you there, Charles, but I'm just doing that because even with plyometrics, it's important. This is why I asked these questions and I didn't ask the exercises. Because I'd rather you answer these because you exercise. Because with plyometrics, there's so many different fucking exercises. If you answer these, you'll know which one to pick. So in terms of descriptor, a depth jump is an exercise, correct? And what the fuck does depth mean? If you think, what the fuck? So I say jump, When you said depth, like what do I do? What do I do? Don't know.
No.
Days, what do I do?
Jump.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
So what do we do?
Squat. Did you just say squat?
Yeah.
No.
Like, I don't know.
What do we say up here? Move from a high altitude. Depth. We're creating depth in our movement. Move from a high altitude. You can do an altitude landing. Technically, it's still a depth. Now, if it's a depth jump, yes, that's going to be completely different how you describe it. But when you're creating depth, you're changing the altitude of where you're moving from. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah? Cool.
Sorry, can you just go through non-counter movement again?
Yeah. So non-counter movement is a full concentric. It's a full concentric movement. Does it make
Yeah,
sense?
that's what
Stick.
That was easy.
Max, stick.
When you stick the leg.
Pretty much, no.
When you're doing a movement and when you land or hit the ground, wherever it is, you're
But like, okay, so how do you want me to stick it?
like, I'll take it.
Go on.
Absorbing force like efficiently, so you're not like moving around anything. When you land strong. You create a strong base when you land.
That's awesome. That's right. So you're explaining like why that's fucking great, but Jeff doesn't know what the fuck to do. Like, what am I actually doing with my body?
Foam landing.
Producing force. Producing force. Absorbing force.
His answer.
Absorbing force.
Again, I'm absorbing force, but I don't know what the fuck that means. How do I do that with my body? You got to teach me, coach me. What am I doing?
Hips, knees, and ankles to set.
What do I do with my hips, knees, ankles?
Ankle.
Exactly. You got to fucking coach it. Like, I love the idea of like absorbing force and shit like that. But like, it's not telling them what to do. If you don't give an athlete a solution, then there's no point of explaining to them any of this. They need the solution. Like, okay, depth jump, we're trying to get on the ground contact giants, a lot of force. Well, what the fuck do I do? Like, tell them, swing your arms hard as you hit the ground, or swing them before you hit the ground. You need to give a solution, especially with movements like these. Like, all this fucking explanation means jack shit if you can't give them a solution of what to do. So, stick, I want you to hit the ground and flex the ankle, knee, and hip with your chest up, head up, eyes straight. Does that make sense? And then you know, if you have to explain to them, that's because we're trying to absorb the force.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you've got to give them a solution. Solution's number one. Sorry, you're real passionate about this. Get really into it. Alright. Double contact. The fuck is that?
So basically you have
Basically, what's a double contact? Listen to the word. Double contact.
Is that just when like you're just having more contact with the same body part? Like just more than one?
Pretty much, yeah. The ground twice. Kind of double contact. So, literally, how you explain it, yeah. You hit the ground, and then you hit the ground again. That's called a 1, 2, a double contact. Why would we implement a double contact?
I was gonna ask you that one exactly.
Alright, we'll get to that. What's an exercise with a double contact?
Find this because I'm like full on the other side where like
Totally fine.
fully strength, so I'm like these are little like
100%.
for me, but like in my head like super simple. I don't know what it's called, but just like the jump from like a depth jump. I don't know, jump from box or whatever, and like you land on 2 feet together. Then like you do like a I don't know a separate and like you go lateral. I don't know. And then you do another jump where like you end up with feet wide as a landing. So do you want to jump from somewhere, stand from somewhere, like I land here, and then I go like that, and then they come out like wide. Or even just that same thing again, where it's just like the same jump.
Like you can jump off the box and then kind of like hit the ground, jump up,
And then
and hit the ground again.
Yeah.
And land.
And they don't have to change.
No, they don't have to change vector. They can be in the exact same vector.
Yeah.
So
I
we
don't
can
know,
use
that's
it in 2 ways, right? That's great. That's a great example. No, 100%. You can also use it like say when you're doing hurdle hops, say continuous hurdle hops, right? Because continuous hurdle hops, like they can be quite fast paced, right? to slow it down a little bit but maintain efficient ground contact times, you can jump over the hurdle, 1, 2, then jump 1, 2, so you don't have the speed of moving horizontally so quickly. Does that make sense? So you can use the double clicking for two reasons, right? You can either progress the movement by creating, 2 different outputs within the exercise, like a depth jump to 2 vertical jumps. Or you can regress the movement and do like a continuous hurdle hop and jump. So a continuous hurdle jump with double contacts. So every time you jump over that hurdle, it's still continuous, still efficient ground contact times, but you're slowing the momentum down. So you can nail the movement, nail the projection, nail the power. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does anyone understand that variation? Does you understand that, Andy? That's fine if you did. So it's like, imagine if I jump over a hurdle, 1, 2, 1, 2, instead of 1, 1, 1. Does that make sense? I'm slowing it down. But my ground contact time is still efficient, because it's just 2 pops. Just slowing my horizontal momentum down, so I can understand, create position, create shape. Does that make sense? Cool. Now, quickly, this is a quick one. What's a modality?
Constraint or accessory you can add to a movement.
A what? An accessory.
Constraint you can add to a movement. For example, dumbbell, hurdle, resistance band, box.
So a piece of apparatus. Pretty much.
Yes.
Piece of apparatus. That's either, it can act as a constraint, not all the time, but yeah, it can act as a constraint, but it's just a piece of apparatus. It's literally equipment, right? But it's probably going to be a constraint. It's probably going to help you create power. What's an example? You gave me some, but like a hurdle, a box, awesome, and implement those where necessary. Does anyone actually know why we implement a box?
Yes.
To reduce the amount of impact, impact on your joints.
100%. With what phase?
The eccentric.
Absorption, landing. When would that be useful? It can be useful in many different settings, but give me an example.
In season.
Why?
You're sort of reducing fatigue and I guess.
Explain it to me this way. There's two factors: output and fatigue. What's happening to both of them?
Going down.
Well, no, output's not going down. Output's going up, fatigue's going down. Yeah. So in terms of utilizing a box in season, right? Because we're reducing the impact forces on the joints, right? We can maximize output, power output, but reduce impact and residual fatigue onto the body.
How does using a box reduce fatigue?
Because where you're landing from. If I jump up, if Sandals jumps up 50 centimeters in the air, right? And then he lands straight back down, he's landing 50 centimeters back down. If he jumps to a box, that is 30 centimeters
I was
high.
jumping onto a box. Okay, I get you. Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
You thought you meant step down.
I thought you were jumping off the box, and I was like, doesn't that create more?
Yes.
Aha, yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Exactly.
I get you.
But you don't always have to implement it, that's it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Cool. Any questions with all of this? That's a lot, right? Any questions? Were you going to ask a question?
No.
Okay. Yes, I know this is a lot, but this is the basis. I really wanted to spend at least an hour covering this, because now that you understand this, you can, if you fucking tick these boxes, then you know exactly, it should be like a criteria sheet. You have a fucking plyometric, right? Okay. This is your criteria right here. Does time of in-season matter? Are they a novice? Yes? No. Pick one that's extremely simple, alright? Yes? Okay, well where are we? Then you go to here. What vector do we want to do? What movement category? What descriptor? Modality? Well, that will come once you pick the exercise. Well, then pick your fucking exercise. A lot easier. Yeah? Don't do the opposite. Everyone picks exercise first, then they categorize it. Fuck no. Other way around. Cool? Questions?
Nope.
Grab a drink and then we'll go downstairs. Have a little 5-minute break and then we'll go downstairs. Prac time. Make sure you have these sheets with you because we're going to go over it together, okay?
Start fucking jumping. Concentric development. It's the same movement, so what we're going to do, we're going to start up tall, come back down to that quarter squat position, get punch up, and again, stick the landing, and we're going to focus on pushing force into the ground, punching up. When we land, we're going to land again, eccentric absorption position, quarter squat position, hips, knees, ankle change, hands back, stick the landing.
Now, what is the first thing I always think about before we start any movement?
Feet.
Did you know that?
So feet underneath the hips. When we say set, we come up onto our toes, reach up tall, come back down, and with this, we're not doing concentric, we're going to do a quick dip. So we're getting that stretch shorten cycle into it. And then when we project upwards into the ground, when we land again into that quarter squat position, press the head up, land strong.
Are my feet squared up?
What?
Are my feet squared up?
Yes.
That's exactly what I said when you're striking with the hips. Anyway,
I just
now, coach and A, good.
Okay. Alright, so that's coming up. So we're going to start off feet underneath our hips. Yep, so what we're going to do, we're going to come up tall, we're going to go quick dip down into that quarter squat position. We don't want to have our hips too far back because we're not projecting forward, we're trying to project up. When we jump and land up, and again we land back, and then when we land with our hips a bit further back, chest up so we can absorb the force a little bit better. Yeah.
Wait. Why the fuck did that happen? Coach, tell him.
Probably stick the landing a little bit longer, but that's
Two more reps. Coach,
So hold for 3 seconds when you land. Stick. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that was awesome. I go on. Oh, wait. Have to start with your legs properly set up underneath the hips. There you go. Hold. Stick. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful.
I can really regress them. I see steady attacks. I can really regress them. Regress that movement.
Less intensity.
Yeah. Oh, what's another easier way to break down the skill?
Hands on hips.
Hands on hips.
Yeah, so we do the same thing, but instead of coming up tall, you just got your hands on the hips. So start again, feet on the square to the hips. Quick down, jump up, and stick the landing. 3, 2, 1.
Did you jump higher, or didn't you see how far? How high did you go off the ground compared to last set? Yeah. So you can see the utility, the power of using momentum to drive and propel you and apply force. So that's why I tell my athletes, it's like, this shit needs to be violent, right? It needs to be quick, up, fast.
Exactly, take the body. Now, also, you were thinking way fucking too much, weren't you?
Yeah.
Way too much. That's why his power is shit too. Set up in this position. 327 in here. Quick dip, straight down, shut up, jump as fucking high as you can, alright? 3, shut up. Wait, 3, 2, 1, dip! Way higher.
Stop thinking.
Yeah, you fucked up the stick. Straight down, straight up. Yeah? Your body will know where to go. Don't overcue before they fuck up.
Yeah.
Be smart with that.
Yeah.
We want to explain everything, but give them the cue necessary when they make that mistake. So if fuck the lady, I'm going to tell them. Yeah? But I'm not going to sit down and be like, jump. Do you know what I mean? Just break it down a little bit. Start with it very simplistic, because you jumped way high. So we just got greater power output. I can fix that landing in a second. So now, do the exact same thing, but stick the shit out of it. I'm about to fucking punch you in the face, right? Ready? 3, 2, 1, go! 6, 2, 1, good work. Greater power output, made it all fucking good. Simple, wins. Make sense?
Max, coach the whole group through it. 9 seconds.
Okay, so what we're going to do, start feet square underneath the hips.
No, fuck that.
Alright, line up on the line.
Fuck that. Fuck wherever you want. Fuck that. None of that shit, bro. You fucking line up on that line, bitch. So it's gone.
Alright, so line on the line, feet square underneath the hips. Start with just the hands on hips. So everyone put the hands on the hips. We're going to have a quick dip down, Jump up as high as you can, land, stick the landing, hips, knees, ankles flexed, chest up, head up, hold for 3 seconds when we land. Alright, ready, and go. Ready? I think we can try to get down a little bit more. Alright.
Hey, good cue. You got 5 seconds. Good cue. What happened?
Bend your leg more. Good. Okay. Alright, when you land, yeah. Alright, 3, 2, 1, jump. 3, 2, 1, nice. Alright, one more time. And everyone get low as well. Alright, 3, 2, 1. Nice. Beautiful.
Simple wins. Simple wins. Alright, how can we progress this? So we know we can use the arms. Where do we take it to the next level? How can we
Add load.
Grab some dumbbells.
Wait for the sentence to finish. Add low. So what's that? Dumbbell what? What's the movement?
Dumbbell counter movement jump.
Cool. Dumbbell counter movement jump. Okay. What else? How else can we add low?
Barbell counter movement jump. So squat jump.
Squat jump. Cool. What else? Tripod jump. Cool. Okay. What else? What other ways can we progress it besides low?
Jump onto a box. Or jump over a hurdle, we can have constraints. Jump over a hurdle, jump onto a box.
So at this point of jump integration, this is where you have to pick. Am I focusing more? So once you progress this point, so say you do your nail counter movement, you nail it say with a couple variations with your hands as well. You have to pick, is RFD or SSC my priority? What does RFD stand for, Tags? Yeah, it's like right up, yeah.
Description, but that's not what it stands for.
What's it stand for? Reinforced development. Same. What does SSC stand for?
That's too easy.
What is it? Okay. Then at this point you got to pick, because adding dumbbells, trap bars are great, but you're focusing on the RFD standpoint. If we're trying to move along a continuum and increase power and speed, minimum gain in that time, large amounts of force, we're going to focus on the SSC standpoint, and that's what we're focusing on today. So no, beyond this point, you got to pick which way you're going. Does that make sense? Guess what? You can pick fucking both. So there's no right or wrong answer. You can do both. You can do a dumbbell counter movement into a fucking continuous vertical jump. Like there is no right answer. That's the thing. You just got to be aware of which exercise you're picking, a dumbbell counter movement, or a jump onto a box, and what you're trying to target. More of the force component or more of the velocity component. Make sense? Cool.
Do the next variants require equipment?
Yes.
Which ones? Where are we right now?
So we just did that.
We took that, so we're here.
Yeah, we did.
What do we need? Hurdles? What else? That's it? Where are the hurdles? Alright, everybody, we're going on the other side of the road in the sun, on the grass.
Yeah, fuck yeah. It's a pressure.
And it's more specific from like a perspective of what they'll be landing on. Yes. Bring your water if you need water.
Position. Actually, when you jump, you're fully extending. Obviously a bit faster. Yeah, just get to the jump first and then I'll kick.
Saad's about to do multiple jumps. What are you going to tell them? One thing going on in a front right now.
Don't fall over.
That.
Don't fall over. Don't look like a jackass.
Wait. Drive your knee and the ground is lava.
Drive my knee.
So every time you jump, you drive your knee because you're worried about hitting the hurdle, so I told you that. And the ground is lava, so move quick.
This ground will take.
Dickhead.
Guys, what are you trying to do at the end?
Stick the landing.
How?
Stick the landing in your pelvic position and hold it for 3 seconds.
Let's go! Sandals is like a max effort man, like a one effort, right? Give him one fucking effort.
He's got rate of force development. He's not as elastic.
You don't fucking get side traits, bro.
His leg. I looked at it for half an hour. I may or may not have been me.
First three.
I may have not made it use that concept.
Ready, and up.
I couldn't say the content after a couple minutes though.
Next 3.
Something sprayed on the phone.
And up.
Something sprayed on the phone.
Man, I land. I'm good. I land stiff leg.
Rickety!
If that's okay with you guys, that would be an option that we'd like to explore potentially.
Where do you think you want to put your time on the ground?
It was in South Melbourne.
Yeah,
they're out of that space now.
They're gone.
Yeah. He's just got too much on. I don't know exactly why, but he's just not in the business anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the card stuff, like the
I
playing
was
card
done
stuff.
with that.
Yeah.
You know, they never, at South Melbourne place, did they ever actually clean up a bit or no?
They made it into their own. They booked like frames up. They had like this the podcast set up. Yeah.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
He just waited, didn't he?
If you
There's a reason for it.
if we do, if we do, that could be like our payment.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100.
We need two of us buying.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
I
a
think
lot
that's fair.
easier.
That's fair. Absolutely.
Do you have good stuff? You got good stuff.
Well, we have to buy some. We have to buy some new stuff because I was using some of Sandor's stuff. So
Oh.
we have to, that thing I sent you, we gotta buy that.
Before you hit the ground,
Yeah.
Oh, how much was that?
It's like great.
Because
That's worth it, though. Quality.
Yeah. Like after we're gone.
Tell Alex the story about how you got the video right. What a story.
Heads up.
Yeah, okay. We'll love it.
Down, up.
Could use a few.
Set it up a bit.
We're getting Last Woodford back.
And
Like a proper table.
We back, baby. Woo!
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Set.
We get the big Dirk on.
But there's a couple more locations we're looking at, so we'll hit you back.
Which other location
What
we
you
get?
got done pretty quick. That's
Locations. Ben knows some people who owns gyms.
Oh, okay. Well,
We'll look at their space too.
Well,
I know it's very convenient.
it's convenient.
I'll get back to you.
No, thank you.
Drop.
You can let us know if they...
Go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Didn't land.
Except the other way there. But anyway,
Absolute weapon who needs land. What a machine.
like yours. Set. Go. Do it.
You've never done that before, so you didn't know your capability? Yeah, cool.
That's
I like
scary.
that. Did you feel fear?
But I swapped legs. Like, I swapped. Like, when I was stepping off here, I was stepping off on my left, and then that one stepped off on my right. Because in my mind, I'm like, why would I step off on my left and start turning on my left? Just watch it. But it still messed me up. What?
I like going to the break. Who's next? Who has another one?
Rocky?
You do probably get out of
Is it because of game or body?
No, I just like don't want to like kill it again. I could probably do it.
I'm kidding. No, don't do it.
How are these? How are the other ones?
They're alright.
Just like,
I'll just do it.
It's one jump.
next minute.
I never get ready.
No, if something happens to you off one jump, that's like our fault. Like that's something's like we didn't do enough preparedness then.
That's what I was on, that's you. Beautiful. I did that grand. It's fucked.
That was good. Okay, great.
Charlotte?
I'm happy watching.
Cool. Alright. Jesus, we're just going through that. Now. Okay. Lower body, plyometric position, how do we go? Any questions with that? No, serious, any questions? No issues? How can we progress this beyond single leg? Add weight. Add weight? Fuck. Do that for me. I would actually say, you could have weight, and I've seen it be done, and you could affect them. But what did I tell you? Once you get to this point, what are we focusing on? SSC or RFD?
SSC.
So let's make it snappy. Stretch one side needs high velocity, doesn't it?
So you could add weight to the eccentric part, the landing part, and then constant part, drop the weights and
Again, but you're still probably focusing a bit more on the RFD side, slowing it down a bit. What's something I can do?
You do repeat it.
How would you repeat it?
Like instead of onto there, like just go like a vertical jump, but just like
100%. What else?
Contact.
at constant is like
Yeah,
add
so double vertical jumps, so just drop to double vertical jump. Yep. Yep. So jump, hit the ground, jump over the hurdle, hit the ground again, then on a box. Absolutely.
Is that true?
What else can we do?
Damn it.
Is it? Why? Who still do that?
This box.
Oh, that's what I've been told.
Besides that. This is the same thing.
I just made that up. No.
So remove
I'm here.
Thank you.
Give me a different vector.
lateral right, so you can land and straight away do lateral jump off. Double lateral.
That's not a lateral jump, that's a skater jump.
Yeah, like you can do a lateral jump from
Not best
when you land.
specific, yeah.
So once you land, and then lateral jump into land.
So you're saying I need to jump off this box?
Yes.
And do what?
I can show you. Come on.
No. Explain it to me.
So land with double leg, land with double leg, and straight away you move into your lateral landing.
So double leg drop to double leg lateral jump.
Yes.
There's a key word you're missing. You want to shift your body weight and then drive off. You need the shift. And that helps the athlete internalize what to do with their body. Oh, I need to push this side to go this way. Shift.
Shift.
Oh yeah,
I like it. I really like that. Yes, you can do that. You can do depth jump off into the ground over a hurdle, then move laterally. Or you can literally just go off the box, hit the ground, and then do multiple. Again, endless option. No right answer. Keep it simple. The less you do, the better. Pick ones that you like and understand how to progress and regress that, and your life is so much easier than owning fucking 50 different plyometric drills in the shop. Promise that. Pick less, understanding comfortable and vector, understanding how to progress, and then you're going to be so much more efficient. Make sense? Cool. Now, we're supposed to do that body plyometric continuum. In terms of stimulus volume guide, look, again, like what he said, you can follow this if you want. I think the basics of what you actually should understand, rather than looking at actual numbers, I think you just need to understand is the more simple, the more volume. The more complex, the greater the intensity, less volume. Does that make sense? More intensive, less volume. Higher intensity. More extensive, more volume. Good. That's what the basic of that is.
Do you really agree with that expensive to intensive stuff from plyos?
I think in terms of like pogo jumps, 100%. Like because with pogo jumps, you're building so much more contact time, with exposure, with stiffness. Like that builds your base. It's like you do strength training. Like when you go like a 4x8 in the off season, you're building up base. That's
It's a bit of an oxymoron, though. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I agree.
You don't think, Alex?
I see where you're coming from.
No, honestly, talk.
No, it's just the words you use.
It's an oxymoron, though. Oxymoron.
What does that mean?
Shut the fuck up. No, I know oxymoron means like complete, it's like,
Fuck,
Karen,
Google it, quick.
hold on, quick Google it.
So, okay.
Yeah, it's like the opposite, you know what I'm saying? Shut up, Alex. Like, you understand? Depending what,
Just say something no one else understands.
Physics.
Muscle spindles.
muscle spindles,
Golgi
you've
tendon.
got, the hippocampus in the brain, do you know where that is? Because I don't know if you know where that is. Hypothalamus, no, do you understand what I'm saying though with that extensive and intensive? Depending who you talk to, it's always interesting to hear other people's views on it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't ever, like, no one ever talked about extensive, intensive until probably the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Same thing as a vaccine, like sprinting's a vaccine for hamstring injuries, or microdosing, all these big words. I'm always interested in
I think it's just like, that's the way that it keeps people simplistic in their brain for what's been done for many fucking years.
Fair enough, yeah.
I think like intensive to extensive, like,
Yeah.
I told it short, people like, is it technically extensive? Because it's like, I mean, there's very little intensity.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can do a lot more.
Yeah.
So I think just understand the principle of when intensity increases, volume drops, when volume
Same like an extreme trainer, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think using fancy words is,
Oh, fancy words are sexy, aren't they?
yeah, they're sexy. So I mean, as long as you understand that basis,
Wait, just get a screenshot of
like, because you're going to get more output with something that's higher intensity. So
Yeah.
you're going to reps to in comparison, so you're going to do less of it.
Yeah.
In comparison to a pogo, we can get more, more volume, because the intensity's not so high.
Yeah, you talked about skipping, like how good skipping is for.
Yeah, skipping.
Skipping's like the best thing you could do, in my opinion. Skipping.
Pogos.
And another plyometric, which most people don't talk about, is top end speed max velocity, because the minimal ground contact time.
100%. Literally, probably the best plyo you can do. Max velocity sprinting.
Is that? No, I don't think skipping works, people stole them all, so that's why. But it's really good, skipping's really good. If you can skip, I mean, I only say that because I train boxers, and Campbell Somerville used to be the best skip I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Ever. So, skipping's fantastic. Really good for your foot ankle complex, really good for build resiliency, Chris.
Foot ankle resilience.
Foot ankle complex resiliency.
Really
So robustness.
Robustness.
Yeah.
Now, upper body plyometric continuum. Do we all have some way to look at this, or do we just explain it? Because it's different. The words are different. There's 5 phases. Concentric development, eccentric absorption, draw and release, catch and release, and repeating catch and release. Who's going to give it a go to explain each phase? Who wants to give it a crack? Good old red crack. Red old crack. Someone give it a crack.
Well, I'm assuming concentric and eccentric are pretty similar. Yeah. I'm assuming eccentric development, eccentric are the same thing.
Alright, Max is going to explain.
Oh, well, I fucked up.
Alright, Max is going to explain the 5 phases in his brain how it makes sense. So what is concentric development in upper body continuum?
I'm assuming that's the same as well, but it's just developing force production without the eccentric.
Alright, listen, Jason. Yep, force production from a dead start.
Yeah, and then eccentric is absorbing force, so you're not producing, you're just absorbing it. Draw and release, I'm assuming that's again similar to like the jump integration, you're putting it together, so
Utilizing the stretch on the
you're,
side.
yeah, you're absorb, like with the shot put example, you're like absorbing force and then producing it.
Yep. Creating eccentric running that stretch on the side to project.
Yeah, to project an object forward.
Catch and release.
Catch and releases.
Reactive.
Bench press band. I know you catch a bench ball.
Don't use that example as a thought of how to explain it.
Oh well, you can do like with a med ball. Someone's dropping a med ball, so you have to catch it, quick absorb it, and produce up.
Yep.
So there's the catching component of it, rather than you already start off with it.
Yep. So there's utilising the stretch shorten cycle in the upper body.
And it's a bit more reactive in the sense you have to